last week, we talked about liars. So this week, we're going to talk about specific liars who lie about making changes. And that's okay because I lied about making changes a lot in the past. And I attracted liars who lied about it too. So stay tuned till the end and find out why avoiding people forever is not the answer, even if we really, really want it to be. So, Jay, why do people say they really want to change, but then they don't? Like they do nothing to try to change.
As usual, good question. And to answer that, first we have to explore what change is. So, is change something that you do, or is it something that happens? Is change a process, or is it a decision, or both, or what? Do you change instantly? Do you change over a long period of time?
Oh, well, okay. So I have a few answers. The reason I have a few is because I think that it really depends on what's going on in your mind, right? And so in the past, I have changed instantly for short periods of time and then slowly gone back to what I was doing prior to the change.
But then have you ever really changed?
Yes. And so then now I've made lots of changes that were quick. So I learned for 5 years about a particular topic and I made small changes along the way. They were forward moving changes. But then one day I made a decision and then everything changed very quickly. So did it change really quick? I don't know. I was going really, really slow along the way and made small changes. And then one day I just made all these huge changes because I made a decision. So slow, so quick.
Sure. I mean, that could be the case.
Right.
If someone gets in a car accident or gets hospitalized and then instantly makes a decision to change their life afterwards, was that an instant change, or was that a buildup over time until a life event happened that triggered them to make a decision and then finally change, or were they considering the change beforehand, etc.? Right?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's kind of like what I just said, because if someone's miserable and unhappy, then the universe moves things for them to have the accident for them to make instant change.
Right. But all along the way, were they claiming they were changing? They were thinking about changing. They were already changing. All along the way, were you telling people that you were good at X or improved at Y? Or...
Yeah.
So if change is a process that culminates in a decision point or a turning point, then when someone says the words, I'm going to change X or Y, or I'm going to be this, or I'm going to do that, what are they talking about? Are they talking about a turning point a year in the future? Or are they talking about the process of building up to the change, or what, right? Like, are they lying to others and themselves, or are they not?
That's all good questions. And I don't know. It depends on the person and what stage they're at. Yeah.
So you mentioned stages. So would you say that all change has stages?
Yes.
Like a plant growing from a seed into a flower has stages.
Yes.
A child growing from a fetus into a adult has stages.
Yes.
An addict quitting drugs has stages.
Yes.
Yeah. So are there any changes that don't have stages?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head right now, no.
Even if we strike a match, it looks like the match has changed from inert to a flame,
right,
a blaze instantly.
Right.
Isn't that just a bunch of stages happening really close together? Like,
and super fast, yes.
Friction and agitation and heating and ignition and
fire.
Flame. Yeah.
Yes.
So if we understand that all change has stages, then when someone says that they're going to change something, what can you sort of automatically know about them?
Well, now after this podcast, I'll know that they're going through stages of changes. And so this makes a lot of sense to me now, that the way I saw it before this conversation was, we have the inspiration or idea to change. We make the decision and then it's done, right? Or not done.
Well, those are some stages of change.
Yes. But just now, what you just said, there has to come, before the idea even, there's something that feels like it needs to change, or maybe the idea comes first and then there's thinking about how to change or researching how or figuring out how that particular change, like real action looks like for that change. So then they're not changing anything really. They're mentally kind of preparing for it. And then once they do research and they find tips to try, then they experiment with these tips. So this is all stages of the change. So until they actually change behavior or change thinking or change food or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that you said preparation, because all these stages are really just about getting ready for the next stage.
Yeah.
When you have the idea, it's helping you get ready for the practice or the research. And once you do the research, it's helping you get ready to implement. And once you are ready to implement, you can make the decision or commit to implementing. And once you've committed to implementing, now the change is being visible and people are seeing it.
Right.
And you're building a habit. And once you have a habit, your change is kind of permanent or hard to reverse.
Yes.
So each stage is helping you get ready for the next stage. But do most human beings understand change this way? Do most human beings understand that they're getting ready to be ready for the next step, and that their change is a process and they can go through that process slowly or quickly? Do they know that when they say, I'm going to change X, Y, Z, that they're just in the idea phase and they're nowhere near ready to make a committed decision?
That makes a lot of sense. Yes. And so Abe always says, getting ready to be ready, to be ready, to be ready.
This is what they're talking about.
But I didn't realize that this whole time, I've heard them say that a million times, that I never realized that's what they meant. Okay.
So when you were talking about that long 5-year change you were making, when you first proclaimed, don't worry, I got this, I'm changing, promise, you'll see, I'll prove it to you. The people around you, if they're the average person, is going to think what? They're going to think
that I didn't change anything.
Yeah. Well, first they're going to think, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about this anymore. She told me she's changed.
Yes.
First, they're going to believe you, right?
Right.
Unless they're a super untrusting person. The average person doesn't understand change as a process, and that sometimes it can take a long time, or sometimes people make it take a long time. And so they're going to take you at your word and be like, great, so-and-so promised to start taking out the trash. I'll never have to think about this again. Mm-hmm. My mind is at ease.
Right.
And then what happens?
You don't take out the trash.
Yeah. Because they weren't in the stage of committing to change. They were in the stage of talking about the idea, and it's fun to say out loud, I'm going to change and I'm going to start taking out the trash.
Yeah.
That's the early stage. That's the early stage of change. You know, I think I'd be better off the drugs. Yeah, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because lots of addicts say that before they even try to stop using drugs.
Sure. But then you look at them 5 years, 10 years later, they just got out of the hospital and they change instantly.
But it really wasn't an instant change because they have been thinking about it and talking about it for years.
Yeah, and they failed 3 times and they're fed up and now they're going to commit. And this is the 4th time and I'm definitely changing and I'm 100% ready and I'm 100% committed. And it's way different than, yeah, I'm going to get off this stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
But they're both the same thing. They're both someone saying out loud, I'm going to change. They're both someone who looks like they're ready to change. But one of them results in actual change that everyone around can see and is like, wow, well done. And the other one results in, oh, great, a damn liar who's not going to keep their word and not going to change at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair play. And I know it's so weird, but I never, ever thought of it like this.
Nobody does.
Interesting.
I don't think I've met anyone else who views change this way. I'm sure they exist and I'm sure a few people do, but it's not common and I haven't met any of them.
I've never heard anyone talking about this. So this whole time, all the 5 years that I've been working towards making change, I wasn't lying. I made changes. I made tons of changes. But then it wasn't until recently that...
Well, you were kind of lying because you could have said, I'm in the early stage of thinking about change and I'm kind of considering it and I'm imagining a version of me who's good at X, Y, Z, even though I'm not practicing. You could have said, I'm playing around with the idea of change, but don't trust me to do anything awesome because I'm not there yet. Like, you see what I'm saying? When we communicate to others, if change is a bunch of stages and a process, then honest, authentic communication would be us communicating which stage we're at so that people don't get the wrong impression or wrong understanding. And lying to those people would be claiming that I'm at the end stage. Oh yeah, I'm totally committed. I'm ready to change. Don't worry about it. Why would you say that? That's a terrible lie. So I get that it comes from ignorance or from not knowing how to express or articulate where we're at in our change journey. And I don't blame anybody, but the end result is that everyone around you can only perceive a lie because you certainly haven't communicated the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And you could argue that lie and truth are just arbitrary anyways. But the point is, you didn't communicate very accurately at all. And in fact, you communicated almost the exact opposite of what we can all expect. So I don't know what you call it, but it's pretty rough on other people.
All right. Fair play.
And you know what it's like because when your child or family member like communicates something to you and then does the exact opposite for years, you can only see it as a
lie.
Yeah. And you know you see it as a lie and you blame them for it or whatever.
Yes.
And so if you do it to someone else and communicate unclearly and inaccurately, what are they going to see it as?
A lie.
Yeah.
All right. So like when it comes to something simple like my ex, you mentioned the trash, and I don't mean to call him out.
Great dude.
But it's just he's a great guy. It's a great example. Okay. Don't be offended. Love you. Okay. So one of the issues we had was he wouldn't take out the trash and he would let it overflow and it was annoying. Right. But he always said like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to try and I will. But like,
he was in the early process of change, if at all. And he might still be in that early process. You're allowed to spend years in every phase if you want.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't live with him, but he claims that he does it now.
Great.
With his current wife.
Then he managed to go through the process and made the committed change.
So it only took him 15 years in a divorce to learn to pick up the trash out of the bin and throw it outside.
Sure. And how long did it take you to learn that you're friendly with people and you can make connections?
Years.
Even though you had glimpses of it and you knew
Sure.
and people were supporting you in it and encouraging
Yeah.
you. So whatever. If it takes you half a decade, it takes him a decade and a half. What am I supposed to say? Anyone can spend as long as they want in any phase of the change.
But even something as mundane as taking out the trash, it's the same thing, like, changing your entire personality in life.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked in the beginning, is there any form of change that doesn't follow stages?
Fair play.
Ice into water, water into steam, a match into flame, a child into an adult, a seed into a flower. Is there any change you can think of, an old habit into a new habit, that doesn't follow this stage process?
Yeah, this is very good.
So I don't care what it is, taking out the trash, quitting drugs, marketing more, whatever it is.
Right. Well, we've never talked about this before, so this is really good.
Yeah.
This is super helpful. Okay. So now I feel like if I had known this, like, okay, it's again a feeling because I can't go back in time. There's no DeLorean outside waiting for me to go back and test this out with him and see. But I feel like right now, had I known this information, that I would have been more patient with people who speak the change or the want to change or the desire to change, I should say. So we have a client who I spoke to today and who has been on a journey since we've known each other. You met her first and you worked with her first. And this is like the third time that she's been unable to complete the
change. Yeah, same thing like your ex is the third time he couldn't take out the trash or whatever.
Right, but that's what I mean.
But he wants to change.
It's equal. Like his change or not change is the same as her change or not change. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, so
it's all the same. Some raging alcoholic, some toxic abuser, someone who's just lazy, someone who doesn't take out the trash, someone who wants to dress better, someone who wants to be a better business person. Like any change you can think of, it's going to be the same process of stages. It might be different stages or different amounts of stages or whatever, but there's going to be stages and they're going to spend X amount of time on each stage. And no one on earth gets to decide how long they spend on each stage except them.
Yeah, they make the decision when they're had enough at a certain stage to move on to the next one.
Yeah, for some people it's 5 years, for some people it's a decade and a half, for some people it's a few weeks, for some people it's 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's good. This is so good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is good stuff. Because once you know this, you can start to spot people's changes, like how deep they're issues go or how deep their resistance goes. So everyone has things that they find easy to change and things that they find difficult to change. There are some topics or areas where they can make changes super fast and it impresses people. And there are some topics or areas where they're super resistant and hesitant to change, and they do everything they can to avoid changing. I call these their wells. They either have a deep well or a shallow well, like a puddle. If something is a puddle, it's like a surface level change. It's very easy to change. It's like, it doesn't have deep roots. It's not a big pothole to fill in. It's just
like taking out the trash.
But taking out the trash can be a deep well for somebody. That can be a major issue for someone to change. But that same person might have no problem changing video games or swapping controllers or using a new laptop or swapping tech. But then someone else might be really picky about swapping tech. I need to use my laptop. I have to use my stuff. I can't play games on anything else. It's like, whoa, that's a deep well for this person. Like, they have a lot of issues making changes there.
Right, yeah.
But the other dude had no problem swapping tech. And then dude A is like super resistant to changing his garbage day habits. But dude B is like, oh, whatever. Sure, I'll happy to take out the trash. No problem. You want to do it like now or later. Like, very accommodating, very easy to change. And so it's not about the size of the topic or the issue or what it is, or if you think it should be difficult or if they think it should be difficult. It's just every human, because of how they were raised and their traumas and their experiences and their neuroses and their perceptions and stuff, has some areas where the change is a way deeper rooted issue. It's like a way deeper well. It's like deep and dark and full of water and murky, and to get to the bottom of it or to change it is going to take some doing.
Right.
And if you're able to spot those, then you're able to navigate them and deal with them. It's better. When I connected with you and you said you were going to change something, I can see like what phase you're in, and I can see this is a deep well, and I know, well, I'm going to have to pivot 4 businesses and spend X amount of years before this woman steps up.
Right.
And I don't even know how long. It's a really deep well.
True.
But to someone else, it would be like, here's the recipe for business. Just go follow these steps. Easy peasy. And they would do it. And they would go make money, and they would go start a business, and they would go market. Because for them, it was easy to change. There was no trauma. There was no issues. There was no anything, right?
Yeah.
It was like a puddle for them.
Yeah. For me, it was a super deep well full of jagged rocks all the way down to the bottom where there was giant spikes and murderous sharks and snakes and everything poisonous at the bottom. So
sure. And is everyone you meet going to be okay and cool with you, like working through your issues for half a decade?
No.
Some are going to bounce and be like, this person's a waste of my time. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
But you would do the same with others. If you see a deep well and you're like, man, this person's never changing, I'm going to move on.
Yeah. Totally.
You divorced your ex.
Yes.
You didn't stay with them and work through the issues until they were ready to change, because you don't know when they're ready to change. It could be a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year commitment. I know people who didn't change their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
It was a super deep well.
Yeah.
But they changed diets, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I gave 15 years and I was like, okay, that's all I have in me. Like, I can't wait anymore for you to change. So,
right.
So, okay. Well, this makes sense. Thank you. Okay. So then you explain what deep well and shallow puddle. But how can normal people who aren't in our place, in our position, with years of experience behind them, how can they tell when someone's lying about their deep well or their shallow puddle? Or let me phrase that again. How can a normal person tell when someone's issue is a deep well and not a shallow puddle, or vice versa?
That's a great question, because having the skill to tell a deep well from a shallow puddle can save you a lot of heartbreak and pain and trauma and putting up with BS from people who are steering you wrong, right?
Right. Yeah.
From people who can't communicate the truth of their change.
Exactly.
So you basically have to become a detective. You've got to ask questions and look for signs and spot signals and all this kind of thing, or become a miner and really dig deep under the surface. Because on the surface, someone's going to say, I'll change X, no problem. Or I'm done with smoking, or whatever. Mm-hmm. This is a surface statement. But we could line up 5 different people who all say, I'm done smoking, and they're going to be at 5 different stages of change. one of them's going to be barely even thinking about it and just said it out loud to sound good at a party.
Right.
Another person is going to be just out of the hospital, just beat lung cancer, and is 100% ready to be done smoking.
Right.
But when we hear that sentence come out of their mouth at a party or wherever we meet them, we do not know which stage of change they're in.
Right.
We don't know. Are they accurately communicating their newly committed change, their new decision? Or are they acting as if they've made some kind of decision to change when really they're not even partway through the journey?
Fair play.
Or maybe they're half and half and they've quit before and they're doing well right now today, but tomorrow they're going to backslide and nobody knows.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I got you. You can't tell. I've seen people go 30, 60, 90 days without a drink or a smoke. And then all of a sudden, like, go on a huge bender after being clean or smoke free or whatever for that amount of time. So,
yeah. And even if you're the best mental health miner, the best change miner, you can never really know. So all we can do is increase our chances of spotting this stuff.
Okay.
So if you ask someone questions, a lot of times this can reveal the truth. If someone says, that's it, I'm done, I'm quitting smoking, you can say, okay, good for you, and take them at face value. This is not good detective work. This is not good mining.
Right.
Another way to approach it is to mine deeper and ask something like, oh, really, have you tried this before?
Okay.
Because if you can hear about their track record, you can know, have they been struggling with this for years, or is this a fresh issue?
Fair enough.
You could also ask something like, cool, what's your plan? How are you going to tackle that? I've heard people have trouble quitting smoking.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
And their response can reveal a lot.
Yeah.
If they say, well, I don't really have a plan, man. I'm just done with it. Like, had enough. It's got to stop. It's like, This does not indicate to me someone who is serious and ready and committed at a far stage of change. Another thing you can do is look at how they handle change in general. How have they handled other changes in their life? How long did it take them to get their first house? How long did it take them to divorce that toxic partner? How long did it take them to quit weed or quit gaming or whatever change they're trying to make? How long did it take them to get into the gym? Did they commit to it right away overnight, or did they have to go to the gym and half-ass it and then whine and then complain? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they wake up and get out of bed raring to go, or did they drag themselves to it? You can observe their general approach to change with anything.
Right. Yes.
Some people are good at change. Some people are not.
You're great at change.
Potentially. I'm always aiming to be better. There are things that I should have changed earlier or more or faster, but I do aim to be good at change. So yeah, I can't get into it all on this episode, but hopefully you get the concept of becoming a mental health miner and getting at the issues behind the statements people make. You want to suss out their vibe, suss out their mindset, suss out where they're at with the things they say. And then you can sort of ballpark how far along they are on the change journey and how likely they are to change in your lifetime. Right?
Right. Okay. Well, no, that's great, because I think if you look at their track record, this will show a lot of how someone. So my ex, there was another thing that I asked him to change, so other things like that I wanted changed, and he would promise I'm going to try it. Promise I'm going to do it.
Oh, that's another one. If you hear the word try, it's over, man. The word try only comes in the beginning stages of change. So you can watch out for keywords like that too.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. The track record and the language they use to describe their past and whatever is bothering them. And so I have a friend that wants to move to another country, and I was so excited for her. And I was like, okay, well, what do you need to do for that to happen? I will help you. I've moved to different countries a bunch of times. I've lived in other countries. No big deal. It takes some work, but it's research. It's no biggie, right? I said, I'll help you. And then she was like, whoa, wait. There's a lot of things that have to happen before I make a decision and before I say yes and before I like commit. And I was like, okay, now I realize she was only in the thinking stages of it and talking with her friends and getting opinions. And she may never be in the actual stage to actually move there. So this makes a lot of sense. And I was kind of annoyed. Not because, I mean, I love her. I don't want her to leave. But I was like, well, if this is your dream, I want to help you because you're my friend. And I've done it like 3 or 4 different times. So I kind of have a little bit of experience and can kind of help you with this. But she didn't seem open to my suggestions or my questions or anything. But now I understand it's because she was at the different stage than I was in my head. I'm thinking she is almost at the actual action stage. And homegirl's like all the way over here at the, it sounds like it might be kind of cool stage. Okay. So that's good. And asking questions like I asked her will suss out exactly what's going on behind the words. And
it's probably a deep well for her.
Yeah.
She's probably afraid and scared of moving to different countries.
Yes.
And leaving her friends behind and leaving her support system and learning a new language and learning a new culture. And you're not scared of it because you've done it XYZ 50 times.
Yeah, I love the adventure. Yeah.
Right. So it's on a deep well for you. If someone said, could you change your country tomorrow? You're like, of course I can change my country tomorrow.
Let's go.
It's a super shallow puddle.
Yeah.
But if someone said, could you change your arguing style tomorrow? It might be a lot more difficult.
Well, tantruming and screaming and throwing things is just such a great style, but I'm just kidding. I don't do that anymore.
But I'm saying, was that an easy change?
No, that was a deeper well. Yes.
Right. So for you, traveling to a new country is a shallow puddle, easy to change, no issues there.
Yeah.
But for you, changing your style of debate is a deep well that you were super resistant to change no matter how much people ask you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
You eventually got there.
Right.
And so then when we see another person, like your friend, for them, changing their style of debate might be a super shallow puddle. Yeah, okay. What do you want me to do? Like, you want to take turns or you want to time it? I don't know. Should I adjust my tone? Might be a shallow puddle.
Right.
But then moving to another country, this is a deep well that they may never change.
Okay. So it makes sense. So I understand checking in and asking questions of whatever desire they have to change, whatever it is, asking questions, looking at their track record and kind of feeling their vibe of it is going to give us the answer of whether this is a deep well or a shallow puddle.
Yeah, you could see it as like vibing them out, but you could also see it as them and analyzing their words and language and behaviors and past and track record and logically sorting it out, right?
Right.
Ultimately, spotting a deep well versus a shallow puddle is about understanding that everyone has layers to them. And they're usually going to give you a mask or a first layer of answer, a first layer of truth.
Yeah.
And that there's a deeper real truth buried behind it that you have to mine for. And so a big problem I had in my life is I took everybody at face value. When they would say something, I would assume they're communicating an accurate truth. Why did I do this? Because I pride myself on clear communication, articulating my feelings, wants, desires, and stuff well. I pride myself on being able to speak out on hard topics and own my quirks and own my shit. And so I do my best to give other people the real truth rather than a first false layer. This is not common though. And expecting other people to behave this way is a recipe for disaster. Most people will give you a false truth or a first layer, or they'll be lying to themselves. And so they have to lie to you because if they're lying to themselves, they couldn't possibly give you the truth. And so there's this deeper truth waiting behind everybody's words. And it's not mean, it's not ill-intentioned, it's not that they're trying to communicate poorly. It's how everyone's been raised.
Right. Okay.
And trained and traumatized and so on. And so when someone tells you something, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to change this, they're going to try that, their plan is to do X, Y, Z, they will have a New Year's resolution to do this, whatever. Now the ball is in your court because they're going to leave it at that first layer of truth unless you do some digging. And you have to decide if it's worth it. Do you want to do some digging? Or do you want to be like, yeah, okay, I guess you're going to quit smoking. I'll see you later, man. Like, you can take people at face value if you don't want to do the work. But if it's important to you and you care whether or not your friend really wants your help moving, then you're going to have to ask. You're going to have to probe. You're going to have to dig. You're going to have to look at the signs and signals. You might have to sit down over coffee and ask how they've handled other changes in their life. You might have to be a real detective, be a mental health minor.
All right. Makes total sense. This is great. Thank you so much. So, Jay, how can I help other people mind their wealth, get down in there and clean it out and feel better if I can't mind my own deep, dark pit of despair?
Well, another great question. And okay, well, first of all, do you agree that there are some human beings who are able to provide incredible services to others while neglecting their own situation?
Yeah. Yes.
There are mechanics who can fix everybody else's car, but their own is trash. There are nail techs who can do everybody's nails amazingly, but their nails are a wreck. So do you also agree that there are some humans who are kind of prodigies and they're just able to speak out kind of divine wisdom or give incredible advice despite having no experience? Like,
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So they might be rare and they might be the exceptions, but there are people who could help other people mind their deep wells, get to the real heart of the matter, the real truth of things, and facilitate their journey through the stages of change.
Yeah. And I do. And I know you have more to that, but I want to add, it depends on the topic, right? And so if you and I both have a thing about money and neither of us can get a hold of it, then you can't teach me to heal my money things. But if you've healed your money things, but you have a deep well about relaxation, you could teach me the money things, right? Because you're not trying to teach me relaxation.
Yeah, potentially. But what if it's some child prodigy who's just given the right answer and helping people with whatever? That child hasn't healed their money issues or healed their relaxation issues, but somehow they have great advice.
Fair play. Yeah, there are those people out there that are like that just speak these weird, amazing wisdom, and you're like, what? Yeah.
So there are certain cases.
Yes.
Where person A could help person B with their deep well.
Yes.
But those are rare exceptions.
Right.
And if we're teaching others or we're attempting to learn something about this topic for ourselves, I don't know how helpful the rare freak natural exceptions are going to be. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So we have to look at the average approach to this. And so if the average person is not good at change and takes a long time to get through their deep wells and mostly focuses on their shallow puddles and the easy changes and never really tackles their main issues, how helpful are they going to be to someone else who's going through their own slow change journey? So
I agree with what you said. There are people out there who can just speak this wonderful wisdom regardless of what's going on in their life. There are those people. But for the most part, most people, if they're only fixing their own shallow things and they've never worked on any of their deep wells, or if they have and then given up after getting past a certain point, I just don't see how you can teach someone else how to dig into their deep well and pull up all that heinous, horrible things inside for them to make massive changes.
Yeah, I agree. And what makes it even trickier is, would you say change is a personal thing?
Yes.
Do you think it's possible to change other people?
No.
You think it's possible to make another person change?
No.
So unlike nails, where you can physically do someone else's nails,
yeah,
you literally have no option. You cannot change another person if they don't want to change.
No, you can't. I've tried.
Yeah. So if change is a personal thing and we can't change other people and we can't make them change, then what help can we actually provide?
Well, we can teach them the actionable steps to pull themselves up out of the deep well, step by step, with one of those, those things you put in the rock and climb up.
Piton.
Yeah, that. Piton. I like that word. Piton. Anyway, yeah. So we give them the piton and they themselves have to climb out. This is why I always tell people, you didn't change me. You helped me to change. You gave me the tools. You gave me the pitons. You gave me the beliefs and the ideas and the perspectives. You gave me totally different views than anyone else had ever given me. So with those tools in my hands, I was able to pull myself up out. But if you don't even know what a piton is, I mean, I didn't, but you know what I mean. If you don't even know what the tools are, then how can you hand them to someone else to pull themselves up out? So no, you can't change someone, but you have to know what the tools are to give them to them.
Yeah. And so how do people learn? How did you learn to walk and talk?
Practice and failing.
Yes, you practiced and failed, but how did you know what to practice?
Oh, I copied the people around me.
Okay. So you role modeled them.
Yes.
You role modeled what they were doing.
Yes.
Right. And so if you want to teach someone else to mine a deep well, get to the truth, and go through the phases of change faster, what do they need to see from you? What do they have to?
They have to see you making changes and you doing things and you pulling on the pitons and pulling yourself out of your deep.
Exactly. And if you're mining your own issues for deeper truths, why am I mad at this? Why am I angry at this? Why am I having troubles with money? Why am I having troubles with relationships or intimacy? If they see you asking these questions and they see you taking steps and making changes and going through the change fast, if they see you nail it in like a week or 2 weeks or a few months, they now have a role model.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But if they've grown up around people who never change, do they have a role model?
No.
So what is the absolute best way to help other people with their deep wells?
Help yourself first and change your things first.
All right. Unless you're some rare exception who's really good at helping people with those deep wells. They're few and far between. I don't expect to meet one anytime soon.
All right. That's so good. That's so good. Do you see? This is what I'm talking about. The whole world. Once I get everyone to see you, then people are just going to be like, there's going to be people all over the world just changing and just freaking out over the amazing wisdom and perspectives that you bring. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for going deep and teaching us. Well, if you didn't go deep into your own wells and heal that stuff, you couldn't have taught me so that we could teach other people. So, and one of the things that you've done to help all those people is write an amazing book called Eyes Wide Open, Volume 1. It's the world's first self-help coffee table book, and it is full of all the deep wells that Jay and I had for many years. We have learned to use pitons with and climb out of and heal ourselves. And so Jay put 27 of those into this book for you, and we're giving it away for free for you in a PDF form. Go to eyeswideopenfree.com or click the link in the description. And that's the end of the ad. So you've taught us about how to see other people's deep wells or shallow puddles or our own, how some people are working just on the shallow puddles and they're still making changes. So they're not really lying, but they're avoiding the deep wells, right? So how can we get good? How can we get good at seeing other people's deep wells so that we're not waiting forever or expecting stuff that's never going to happen?
Great question. And you're going to laugh at the answer because I give it every episode. Okay. You guess what it is?
Yes, it's practice.
Yeah, it is practice.
Okay.
Most people don't practice.
Right.
They just have a conversation with someone and either assume the person's lying or assume the person's telling the truth. They don't practice the mental health mining. They don't practice mining for the truth. They don't practice the detective work.
Right.
And it could be because they don't know how or they've never been taught. It could be because practicing that takes work and effort. You have to actually exert yourself in conversation and pay attention and dig for the truth. For whatever reason, people don't practice. And so then they're screwed. Then when they talk to people, they can get scammed, they can get tricked, they can get swindled, they can get lied to. And when someone tells them they're going to change, they believe them. And years later, they're super frustrated because the change didn't happen. It's like, but you didn't do the work, man. You didn't practice. You didn't do the mining. You didn't mine for the truth. If we lined a bunch of people up, like say 10 people up, and we both observed them and interacted with them, and each of them were speaking out statements about their lives. They were speaking statements about changes they intended to make, plans they have, things they're going to do. Of the two of us, which one of us would be more likely to get to the truth behind the statements? Which one of us could pinpoint where the candidates are in their change journey?
Oh, you.
But don't you have great intuition?
Yeah. So I can feel the lie, and I can tell when they're lying, but I can't. I don't. I would need more practice and time with the person to see where exactly in the lie that's missing. Like, so I would need to spend some time with them, because I can feel the lie, but I don't know, if I don't know them, if I could pinpoint exactly where it's missing and what needs to be fixed.
Sure. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I also agree. I would be able to pinpoint where they're at on their change journey better than you. Yeah. More accurately, more often, more frequently.
Yes.
And even with your intuition superpower that tells you someone's lying, it will never mine for you. It will never do the practice for you.
No.
So it's a helpful thing, but it's not the be all end all of practice.
No, because I would have to continue to practice with them. And the more time I spent with them and listening to them, then I'd be able to detect when the lie is deeper, when the lie is truer, how the relationship they have with the lie. And so it gets more nuanced the more time I spend with them. Yes.
Sure. In fact, you showed me a text this morning and I immediately zeroed in on a certain word or two that let me know where this person is at on their change journey. And like, they're not serious. They're not even close to changing.
Yeah. And I said, I felt the lie.
You did.
And I knew that it was off, but I didn't know when you said the words, I was like, oh, well, yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, well, duh. Yeah. And I'm close to this person. And I still wasn't able to go as deep into the lie as you could.
Or as fast.
Yes.
Like it was instant.
Yeah.
But that comes with practice.
Yes.
And it comes from a long history of letting myself be burned, of getting scammed, of having people swear they're going to change or do something for me and then not deliver.
Right.
And so what comes from a lifetime of being burned by people? You either get bitter, jaded, and cynical and hate everyone, or you become very sharp at what?
The practice.
Yeah. Spotting the deep wells. And noticing where on the change journey someone is, how serious they are about the things they say.
Right.
Yes. And sometimes you end up as both bitter, jaded, and cynical, and great where they are on their change journey.
That's true.
So yeah, if you want to get better at this, you gotta practice studying the language patterns, noticing the word try when people use it, or I'm thinking about, or I'm considering, or I feel like, or well, other people have done, and I'm sure it's easy, and my gut tells me yada, yada, yada. It's like, this is not change language. This is not change language.
And no, it's not.
This is, I'm guessing, and I'm not serious, and I'm not sure, and I don't really know what I'm talking about, and I'm just dancing around the idea, and it sounds nice to say out loud, and now I feel like I'm changing, and I've convinced myself I've changed, even though I'm going to backslide in a week or two. It's like, the signs are there. You can practice, or you can dig deep into their history and their track record with change. Have you changed your living conditions? Have you changed your relationships? Have you changed jobs? Have you changed anything? Or have you been the same with everything and everyone forever and you're proud of it? I never changed. I have the same job for 20 years. I feel so proud of myself. It's like, well, I can tell this person's probably not going to change.
Yeah. This is just how I am.
Yeah. This is just how I am. It's another great signal or language pattern you can look for.
It is.
So you can practice this stuff. You can look up books on this stuff. You can study body language and language patterns and interrogation techniques or whatever, right? There's all kinds of options.
Yes.
The point is, if you want to get good at spotting deep wells and getting to the real truth behind people's words, you have to have practice.
All right. Yeah. I love it. That's wonderful. And I love that almost everything boils down to practice. I mean, there's nuances to all the different topics and stuff, but once you learn what they are, just practice. That's it. It's great. Thank you so much. Okay. So in your newest unpublished article called "The Secret Reason Change is So Hard," you wrote, Most of the time, when you encounter a deep well in someone else, it's better to just move on. But doesn't everyone have a deep well? And if we move on from everyone's deep well, won't we end up alone as a hermit on a desert island, crying and all alone and miserable?
It's a good question because it does sound like that at first. But let me ask you this. Does someone's deep well have to affect your life? Or can they just have it and you are friends with them and it never really affects you?
It's a great question. Yeah. I have friends that have deep wells. I mean, we're still friends.
Right. So for example, if you had an alcoholic friend or family member and they only saw you once a year at family reunions and they were dry and sober there and presented well, and you enjoyed the family reunion and went your separate ways, would their deep alcoholism well that they're refusing to change and backsliding on and all this stuff affect you?
No, not at all.
So do you need to get to the bottom of their deep well?
No.
Do you need to move on and be a hermit from them?
No.
Right. You can just keep showing up to the family gatherings and there you go, right?
Yeah. And Pep is your uncle.
But if you have a client, a big client who has a procrastination deep well and they show up late for everything and they give you late materials and they put you under the gun and it's stressing you out and they're not changing no matter how many times you ask and you can tell it's a deep well, is that deep well affecting you?
Yes.
Right. And so then you have to ask yourself, do I want to move on from this person's deep well, which is stressing me out, or do I want to patiently role model how to change oneself until they get it and go through the process of change, the stages of change, and beat their procrastination and become a better person?
Right.
Isn't that your choice?
These are our choices. That's
right.
It. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. In that article, you've got to decide. Now someone's deep well is affecting me. And so I have to decide, do I want to sit this through and help them change? Because helping someone go through their decade-long change journey can be pretty intense. Or do you want to move on?
Fair play. Fair play. Okay. So if it's affecting me, then I really have to look at these choices. But if they're far away and their thing doesn't affect me and we're still friends and I love them and blah, 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 it's cool, do your thing.
Yeah. Was the taking out the trash deep well affecting you?
Yes.
And so did you have to decide whether you're going to stick around to see this change through or to move on?
Yes.
And what did you decide?
I decided to move on, but I don't want people to think like, oh, the man didn't take out the garbage and she just left. It was a symbol of all the other things that didn't get done and promises made.
So multiple deep wells that weren't changing.
Yes. And they all affected me
you
more and more and more as time went on.
Sure. And then you decided to move on.
Yes. Yes.
And did you have clients that had deep wells that they weren't changing and you had to fire the clients?
Yes.
Right. But did you also have friends or family members or people who have deep wells, but you're just like, you do you, we'll still get together for lunch?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. So why, no, this is, I don't know if we're finished with this question. So.
Well, those aren't affecting you.
No, they're not affecting me.
Or they're not affecting you enough to care.
No.
So,
right.
If they're not affecting you, it's like they don't even have them.
So that's why it's okay. So that was going to be my next question, but you just answered it. So if it doesn't affect me, then I don't care and it's fine. They can keep their deep well and I love them. We can still have lunch once a month, like you said. But if their deep well is affecting me all the time, my deadlines, my behavior, my feelings, whatever, my relationship, then I gotta get rid of them.
Yep. And if they swear to you, this is the last time I'll be late, you got to know where they're at in their journey. Is this a shallow change, a shallow puddle that they can make easily? Or are they going to be backsliding every time and still be late? And is this a deep well that you need to move on from?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone's deep well doesn't affect you, it's like they don't even have one.
Yeah, because
it's fluff to you.
Yeah, it's fluff. Okay. It's great. This is so good. It's very helpful going forward and communicating with clients, communicating with my friends, my family. I love this. And so I didn't even know I needed this as much as I did until right now. So thank you.
My pleasure. My own mom has a deep well but it doesn't affect me that often. So
Okay, so here's another question then. Her deep well doesn't affect you that often because you guys are like do your own things. But what happens when you interact with her and the deep well affects you in those moments?
then I have to decide, do I want to keep interacting or do I want to move on?
Yeah.
That's the option every time.
Yeah. Okay. So it's always the option.
Yeah.
regardless.
And I'm always close. Do I want to keep interacting or do I want to move on?
Right. All right. Fair play. It's really good. I love the episodes that feel like we just started talking and I'm like, the time, but it's been like an hour and a half filming. It was great. Last week's was great too. So I'm super psyched. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your amazing perspectives. Thank you for just being wonderful. And thanks to my ex who never really complains and he knows that I use him as an example. And he's a good sport about it. He has a real good sport. So thanks.
And thank you for great questions and great topics and being open-minded and ready to change your views and see things differently. It's super precious and I wish more people did it. It's awesome.
Thank you. Oh, yay. Okay. So Jay, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our wonderful audience?
Yes. You are on earth to change and grow. And you can have a good relationship with change, sailing smoothly through life, navigating all your changes well, or you can have a crappy relationship with change, struggling and dragging every change out for ages. Some changes we need to make lie at the bottom of a deep well, and they take more of a journey to realize. But we can speed up that journey by becoming great mental health miners, by learning to mine for the truth of why we do things, and why we're resistant to things, and why we're hesitating on things, and why we backslide on things. If we ask why and dig for why and examine our signs and our patterns, we can massively speed up how quickly our change happens and how permanent our change is. It's just most people don't bother. Most people don't practice this. On top of that, the better we get at this for ourselves, the better we can role model it for others, and the better we are at spotting the deep wells in others. Once we spot those, we can make it so we're never tricked or scammed or swindled again. We can hear people's words and see what they're claiming and know how near or far they are to actually realizing that. We can tell if we're in for a long journey with them or if they're going to nail it next week. We're never perfect at it and it's not 100% guaranteed, but trust me, getting good at this is a life changer. It makes human relationships so much easier. And not knowing how to do this usually means you end up getting sucked into the black holes of people's deep wells and wonder where your energy, time, and money have gone when you finally separate from them. The point is, your relationship to change is up to you and you alone. I hope you'll become a great mental health miner and continually mine for the truth so that you can facilitate change for yourself and others always. I'll help you in any way I can. I believe in you. You got it.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. So after today, you'll know how to be a mental health miner and navigate change well. So now you can go to this video here called Everyone's a Liar, including you, to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.